Hey guys, thank you for joining the quest. Again, it's your host Marques Underwood, and today I'll be doing a review of Blade Runner 2049. Now, when I first heard about this movie, I was totally against this. I actually saw the original in theaters about a year ago, and I was really into the movie and I loved it, and it just stuck in my mind to be honest, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. Possibly made it into my top 10. So when I heard news about them trying to make a sequel to it, I just didn't like it. But then I heard Denis Villeneuve, who's the director, signed on, who I think is one of the best directors of right now, and also Ryan Gosling, who I think is one of the best actors of right now, and Harrison Ford was coming back. And then we have the legendary Roger Deakins, who is like the best cinematographer of all time. I mean, that right there is a recipe for success. So I was definitely down to do this. So when I made my list for most anticipated movies of 2017, Blade Runner 2049 was definitely at the top of my list. So this movie was a must see. And I must say, it definitely lived up to the hype. I don't really want to get into the story just because I feel like that gets spoilers. But basically, Ryan Gosling is the same guy that Harrison Ford's Deckard was back in the original Blade Runner, and there's a lot of twists and turns that goes on in his story. So what I like most about this movie was that while this movie is a sequel to Blade Runner, this movie definitely felt like its own thing. And that's really, rare to say. Honestly, I think when it comes down to it, I feel like this movie can be seen as like the Godfather Part 2 type of movie where you can make a case that it's arguably better than the original. And that's saying something. Denis Villeneuve did a phenomenal job with this movie. He somehow made his movie feel like it's original and had its own story plot points, but at the same time, let it just kind of marinate in the same world that Blade Runner did with the same characters and continue that story, which I found to be very hard to do and rare to see these days. The acting in this movie was amazing. I feel like Ryan Gosling, if you've seen him in movies like Drive and Only God Forgives, where he doesn't talk that much and he's kind of quiet, I feel like those characters and those roles kind of led up to this point, which is arguably his biggest movie of his career, blockbuster wise. And I feel like he did a phenomenal job, and he definitely has some moments where I like to call them the Marlon Brando moments now. And I feel like he just really held his own in this movie. And even Harrison Ford did a phenomenal job, even though he doesn't appear really into the third act. But I thought he did a good job, and he didn't BS his way here like he's seen in some previous movies. I felt like Jared Leto's character, I think he could have been done by anybody, to be honest. He's more of an exposition type of person, so that's why I feel like that. And I heard maybe Jared Leto actually walked on set and tried to be blind in order to prepare for this role. But I really feel like anybody could have done this role, and I I liked what he did, but he just didn't really do enough, I guess. But then again, with his material in the script, he couldn't really do that much, so it's not his fault necessarily. Sylvia Hoeks, who kind of plays Jared Leto's henchman, she was great. I mean, I think she is arguably the best part of this movie. She's the villain basically, and she held her own. I see a lot of stuff coming her ways. Same thing with Ana de Armas. I believe that's how you say her name. I saw her in Knock Knock, and I want to see another movie with Keanu Reeves called Exposed, if I remember correctly. But she was definitely phenomenal here. She's kind of his Ryan Gosling's girlfriend. I'm gonna leave it at that. But I really feel like this movie can give her a lot more exposure and attention, and I think you'll see her in some more bigger movies after this one. And even Robin Wright, who I don't watch House of Cards, but I heard that's a great show. But she was really good here too, and I felt like her characters kind of made me want to go see House of Cards and see what she's about in that. And the cinematography in this movie is phenomenal. This is arguably the best cinematography I've seen, probably since The Neon Demon, and that's saying something. Roger Deakins, this guy, I think he's been nominated about 13 or 14 times for Best Cinematography of the Year, and he has not won yet. If he does not win for this one, we all know something is definitely wrong with the Oscars, man. Like, this guy is a legend. He's arguably the best cinematographer of all time, and he's not won anything yet. And this guy right here, he made it feel like how the original Blade Runner felt with the noir, lighting and the color schemes and things like that. But he still made his own touch to make it feel original, even with the soundtrack. Even though it's kind of like a modern update of the Vangelis score that she heard in the original, but still fit. It wasn't really nothing too different. It's more of a modern update, like I said before. Like I said, I haven't seen every movie of the year, but this right here to me is definitely movie of the year without debate. If you feel like there's a movie that's better than this or on the same level, just I dare you to tell me it, and I will go watch it and give you my opinions on it. But honestly, I don't really think any movie's gonna touch this movie overall. So with that being said, I have like a new grading system with movies. Basically, I have 4 different categories that I'm going to kind of break the movie down and give them each an individual score out of 5 points. So for directing, I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. Like I said, Denis Villeneuve was phenomenal with his directing, but I didn't really feel like it stood out. But that's kind of hard to do for a Blade Runner movie, even though it did feel like its own story and all. So that's why that's getting 4 out of 5. The acting, I'm giving a 5 out of 5. Phenomenal. I can definitely see some best acting nominations going for Gosling and maybe best supporting acting or actress for Sylvia Hoeks, who plays the villain. Cinematography is going to get a 5 out of 5, and the story is going to get a 5 out of 5, just for being its own thing, but still incorporating the original story of Blade Runner. So with that being said, movie's getting a 19 out of 20 or a 95% from me. Definitely the best movie of the year that I've seen so far. And I may do a spoiler review. I'm not sure, but let me know what you think. And did you see Blade Runner? If you're new, you want to hit the like button for this video. You want to hit the subscribe button for this channel. And you want to join the quest.